What is up, everybody? It's Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Once again, Josh, myself from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. We got you covered. We also have the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, as well as Mr. Pay-Per-Call Adam Young, and our very special guest today, Behdad Jamshidi, founder of CJAM Marketing. That's CJAM, a company that bridges the gap between brands and the quality marketing partners they need in order to grow. What's up, Behdad? I know you told me before the show you go by B, so let's just rock that. What's up, B? How we doing?
I'm good. I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you too. You know, sometimes we reach out to the guests, sometimes the guests reach out to us. I was excited to see your email about coming on the show. Glad you're a fan of the podcast. And, you know, when I read up a little bit about your story, I thought you'd be a great fit. And I want to start with kind of your journey, how you became a quote unquote super marketer, if we want to call you that. But specifically, you know, I saw you went from an engineer turned super marketer. So I'd love for you to kind of walk us through what that journey looked like. What were you doing as an engineer? What was the pivotal moment that led you to kind of change paths and get you to where you are today?
Sure. I'd love to share that 1 minute background. So, as you mentioned, I started out as a engineer. I did a bunch of different stuff, but the main thing, I was a sales architect, they call it back in the day, or maybe even still now. But I used to work for a telecom company very similar to Verizon, but up in Canada, it's called TELUS. And I was doing a lot of solution architecting. So working with businesses, anywhere from about 50 to 1,000 type employer range, understanding what's going on within the business from a C-level perspective, IT perspective, and then building out technology roadmaps. Like, how do you get from A to B to C within the organization? And I got to work with a lot of cool customers doing that, like the Lushes of the world, large law firms, not-for-profits, manufacturing, senior homes, like just a whole host of different types of businesses. I got to touch about 400 to 500 while I was working and doing that job for about 10 years. And so that's where a lot of like my business consulting, sales, leadership, and technology experience came from. How I got into marketing was super random. One sushi lunch literally has changed the entire trajectory of my life.
Well, you got Harrison interested because my guy loves sushi. By the way, not to cut you off, I don't know if you know Harrison's background, but he's a co-founder of Ringba, which is a call tracking technology platform. So I'm wondering if you guys have ever crossed paths with the same clientele or people in the industry.
I do not know B personally, but I'm familiar with TELUS. They're massive, obviously. But I need to hear about how this sushi lunch changed your life because sushi has recently changed my life too. B, I ate so much of it that I have mercury poisoning. And
Yeah, you guys can't see
I'll be honest,
Harrison when he's not talking, but B mentioned sushi and Harrison's eyebrows perked up, so you know he's
and
into
and
this.
and I will be honest, if you've ever seen The Simpsons, where there's like the 0 days since the last accident. Well, yesterday, like my sign reset and I had sushi. So I'm not really doing well here, but I got to hear this story. So
I
please
love
tell
it.
me how, because sushi is like my shit.
Well, then you need to be up in Vancouver having sushi because that's I mean, outside of
All right.
Japan, Vancouver is probably the second place you should be having sushi. But I was sitting with a coworker and he said, "Hey man," and my coworker was about probably 20 years older than me, and he's like, he was working for with enterprise type companies, so he was getting paid very, very well. But he's like, "Hey, I met a guy, he does SEO and he makes about $50,000 a month passively." And I was like, hold on a second. What is SEO and how is this dude making that much money passively? Anyways, the long story short, I ended up watching a video. There was a $500 course. I took the course. I decided that the course was not good enough on websites, Google Ads, and SEO. So I started digging in deeper, taking 25-hour courses on like Google Ads, learning how to build out websites properly, doing textbooks on SEO, all that stuff. And as I started working with customers, I started realizing very quickly I hated doing 80-hour websites on the weekend. I was like, I don't need to do this for a couple extra grand on the weekend. I get paid very well as a sales engineer. And so I started looking for different marketing agencies to work with. And as I did that, I noticed that most marketing agencies didn't really understand business, and most business people didn't really understand marketing. So I was like, interesting. I'm putting people in the same meeting. They don't speak the same language. Agencies say they can do everything. But a lot of the times they can only do 1 to 3 things well, and then 85% of them don't do anything well. as I get more and more into the world. And so I thought I could become this matchmaker or this connector in the marketing space. I'll talk to and find, 10 marketing partners that I really trust. I'll talk to businesses and then matchmake them. That was the dream 6 years ago. Obviously, I hit a whole bunch of roadblocks along the way. And now I've talked to over 1,028 different marketing agencies and experts over the last 6 years and work with about 11% of them in my vetted network to just matchmake businesses with the right marketing partners. So that's my background.
So you mentioned SEO and Google AdWords. This is something I've been looking at recently. Would you agree that like SEO no longer works like it used to, like even just like a year or two ago with all the recent updates that have occurred? And then on the flip side, like what's your overall take on Google AdWords? Is it worth, like, is the juice worth the squeeze, or is it just kind of too expensive to actually accomplish or measure like ROI from that kind of thing?
Two great questions. So I'll hit on the SEO front first. I think SEO is shifting. And so if you think of SEO in the traditional sense of like just Google, yeah, like it's definitely shifting and going the other way, right? Like even if you're on the first page of Google now, you're probably getting about 30% less results. And I forgot who released that just yesterday.
Well, you got like the AI summaries pushing everything down, and
Yeah,
then you got your sponsored listings on top of that, and then your drop down
100%.
menus with all this stuff. So like there's only a few organic people on the first page anymore, I feel like.
100%. And last year, I saw like so many businesses get destroyed, like just on the content front, right? Like Google did an algorithm update, and like literally 95% of your revenue is gone the next day. And then that obviously creates a chain reaction, right? So if you have all these affiliate sites at the top, and then all their affiliate partners who, for example, in the travel space are no longer ranking, the people that were getting that traffic, that were running the service are no longer getting the traffic. And so it created a pretty crazy chain of events. But to answer this question is, I think SEO is going to shift, right? Like, so SEO is no longer just going to encompass like what's happening on Google, but it's going to be what's happening on all the platforms put together, right? Like, it's going to be a content strategy around like Quora, Reddit, your YouTube video. Like, how do you create search engine marketing where people are searching on all these different platforms now, and it's way more broad? How do you create content so that you can be searched across multiple platforms versus just through the Google search? So that's
Becomes a lot more work to the small business owner because if you don't just like need a website and maybe a blog and you have some content rich articles and now you're magically ranking for Seattle kitchen remodel or whatever, whatever it is you're doing. And now you have to have a YouTube, even though it's a home service business. It's crazy. Like,
right.
I would, if I was running like a local business, I would be kind of like stressed over this. I would not do it myself because
Well,
it's way more. I need to hire someone to do content because I don't make good content, for
yeah, and I
example.
mean, a lot of small
That's
business.
not true. Harrison makes great content. All right. Just check out his
No, if
Instagram
you were
page.
like, no, no, no. Okay, that's if you want like to watch me lift weights, sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, but no, like I've been asked to like film like, hey, like for the aviation stuff, Josh. So we own a travel agency, B, it's a completely other business, and we do a lot of charter jet sales. And so I've been asked to like go on jets and like say stuff or like this plane has this. And I look like I'm trying to sell you a broken used car. Like the videos are just horrible. So that's what I mean, Josh. Yes, but if you want workout content, I got you.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how
and to
how
your
do
point,
you what type of you said you kind of are like an intermediary, correct? So what I guess two questions in one. What type of customers do you focus on or do you like to work with or have had the most success with what you do? And then like I guess how does that work? Like I come to you, I run X business, I need help with my website, some marketing, maybe something else. And then I guess the real question is how do you make money doing that? Who pays you? How does it work? Yeah.
yeah, multiple questions there. So the
Yeah,
first one,
sorry, I my ADHD just shoots them out. Sorry.
and I missed Josh's question on the other front, so we'll round back
Wow.
that
Look
up as
at
well.
you. The callback. Nicely
Uh,
done.
I didn't forget. So I'll answer the Google question quickly, and then I'll go into how like my business model and stuff works. So Google is still definitely possible, right? Like I know tons of different businesses that have scaled through Google, but it just depends on the type of business and basically what your margins look like, right? Like if you have a business where you can acquire a customer at the right cost, and then you have other offers that you can sell them into, like those types of customers do really, really well. So think like the coaching space, like the info space, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff works really, really well. And then your local based businesses, right? Like if someone's looking for like emergency plumbing or emergency dental and all that different kind of stuff, like running Google Ads works. It's expensive, but you know you're getting clients that are going to be walking through that door pretty quickly. So I wouldn't knock out Google. I know for a lot of e-com businesses, they've shifted a lot of budget from Facebook to Google as well. And so Google does work. It just depends on the type of business. Do you have the right partner actually running the Google ads? A lot of times people are using like C and B level players running Google ads, and they're just not even paying attention to it, right? Like they'll run it, they're not touching it. Some sort of software is doing the updates for them, but they're just doing automatic reports and they're kind of walking away, right? And those are typically the partners that are like cheap and you want to use them because you're like, oh, they're cheap. You know, they can run my ads for me, or they're doing a good job, but they're not paying attention, right? So that's kind of what I think on the Google front. To answer the question of like the types of customers that I work really well with, my service works really well in the space where someone's between that like $3 and $30 million range. They have product market fit, but they've just kind of like thrown things at a wall until the point where they got to that $3 to $30 million range. Like, how do I get to the next level? And typically that requires
Their business revenue of
yeah,
between 3 and 30.
exactly. Business revenue from 3 to 30. And in this scenario, you got to have marketing strategy in place. And then once you have that marketing strategy in place, I kind of help input the partners that execute at that level, because you no longer need kind of like those average agencies, but you need people that are very good at very specific things. And then you kind of bridge it all together. But I've worked with customers that come to me and say, hey, but yeah, I need a website done. And instead of getting like scammed by people that are going to charge you like 50 grand for a website where you actually only might need like a 10 grand website or a 5 grand website, I've helped customers kind of establish foundations and stuff there too. And then on the larger side, like the customers that are over 30 mil, typically they're needing like fractional CMOs or very specific types of agencies to kind of help them. Like, for example, we work with some customers where they have like 5 different businesses and they need to get design assets done for the 5 different businesses. And there's very specific agencies that do just that work, like brochures, landing page designs, like video editing, and they put it into their software and pump it out. They can do 44,000 assets a year. And so I have access to like very niche agencies you probably even never heard of in terms of a service. Does that answer that part?
Yeah.
And then to answer the third question, which was like, what kind of, how does it look when someone's working with me? Typically a business will come to me and say, hey, B, we're looking for this thing, or we have no idea what we're looking for. Like, how should we think about this? So usually I'll do a business discovery session to really just understand what they need and how they need it. And then I'll build out okay, well, based on what you told me, either you need a marketing strategy in place first, and then we can input the companies, or you just need SEO, or you just need paid ads, or you just need social media, or whatever it is. And then I make introductions via email. Like I go talk to my network, come back, give them an email list of, you asked me for these 3 different things. Like a case in point would be a customer that recently came to me about a month and a half ago, and they just bought this e-commerce business about 6 months ago. They did LED lighting, doing about 5 million a year. And they're like, B, we're thinking about one, either moving off big commerce or shifting that entire platform. We're also looking for a content writer, and we're also looking for SEO support. And so they came to me. I had 45 different separate conversations for them, and then came back to them with, here's the 3 people you should talk to around big commerce, 3 people you should talk to around SEO, and then these are the 3 copywriters, and who do you want to speak with? And then made intros that way.
Sweet.
So there's, probably thousands of marketing agencies out there, right? So what would be like your take on how to find the right one? You told us a little bit about your approach, which is asking them a lot of questions about what they're looking for. But on the flip side, like, let's pretend I'm reaching out to different marketing agencies. What are the right questions I should be asking?
What are some red flags too? Like, what are some things that if you hear on top of Josh's question, you should just run, disconnect, press leave on the Zoom, whatever.
Yeah, these are good questions. So number one, if you're trying to find really good marketing partners, they're typically hidden deep within networks, right? So if you're like searching on Google and you're searching on different marketplaces, typically you're not going to find really good marketing agencies. You're going to be looking within networks. So if you're part of different business groups, for example, or if you're part of different marketing groups or any of those types of things, those are the people you want to be asking for recommendations. And then just being very careful, right? Like if a business gives you a recommendation and their business is very different than what you do, you need to make sure that that partner can actually work with your type of business, right? A lot of the times people will just take they did well for this company, likely it's going to work for mine. And that's not usually the case. But if you do get access to A players, right? Like someone's talking really highly about an agency, but they might not fit you, ask them for recommendations of other partners that they might know, right? And so now you're getting A players recommending A players, and you kind of expand your network that way within the marketing space. The other thing is just be careful when you're going on marketplace platforms. Like if people have like sponsored or pay to play type things, a lot of these marketplaces, I don't want to name them because I don't want to get in trouble. But typically they're ranking people that paid up at the top and then everyone else is kind of below. So just like kind of skim through all your options before making decisions. And one of the other things I recommend is typically I have to talk to about 15 marketing agencies before I put one into my network. And so just knowing that number, like if you're only talking to 3 marketing agencies and you're choosing between one of them, you likely need to talk to more people to get more of an understanding of the landscape that you're about to get into. So for example, when I was hiring an accountant, for example, I met with 20 different people before I hired one. And luckily my accountant that I hired is actually really good. So that's the process that I take. In terms of the red flags that Harrison was asking about, there's quite a few. And it's funny because my fractional CMO was asking me this before the call. So some of it is fresh. Number one is ask the story of the agency, like understand how the agency came to be. And typically you'll understand like the founder either came from another marketing agency where they were the head of like paid ads or whatever it was. And now they're running a marketing agency that's full service, right? So that'll tell you quite a bit about that agency right from the beginning of like what the story is, how they got into it, what their key services probably are, and then what the side services are, because they won't always tell you up front. The second thing is if someone says that they're scaling insanely fast, they did 100% last year, doing 100% this year, that's another runaway thing because agencies are not scalable businesses. Yes, they grow very fast in the beginning, but typically agencies should be growing at 10 or 15% a year because they're a people-based service business. Every single time that they're bringing on customers, they need to bring on employees. So those are some of the other things I kind of look for. And then the third one would be if someone starts touting a big logos, that's also typically a really red flag for me because I go, what did you actually do for that company?
Right.
Did you work with that company at your current agency that you're running or for the agency that you used to work for? Right. And so a lot of times like, oh, I used to work for this company. No, Nike was a part of that agency, not ours, but I worked on their account. And so you'll be able to tell like quite little things.
I love the last thing you said. I love the last thing you said. It reminds me. So like the other day, I was listening to some business podcast and there was an interview and this person said something along the lines of, when I spent my time back in media at CNBC and finance at this huge bank, I learned X and Y and it really did tailored, target this, that. And so I was like, hold on. So I go to LinkedIn and I kid you not, it was like CNBC intern, 90 days. And it was like financial bank thing intern, 8 months. And I was like, that is bullshit. It's kind of the same thing. It's like the logos on a website. It's like, yeah, I cleaned the floors once at HP. So they're a client. Like
100% resonate.
One thing that I thought is worth noting, and I'm sure you've ran into this, when you mentioned it, you need people to run an agency. People need to write content and build websites and manage, PPC campaigns or whatever it is. But one thing I've seen in the agency space, which I would consider a red flag, and I'm not the expert, so I'm asking you, but the agencies that just outsource to other agencies, I've heard that's very common. And I guess number one, how do you prevent that? Is that a red flag? I personally would consider it a red flag, but what do you think on it?
I would more consider it a yellow flag. And it just depends on what they're outsourcing, right? So a lot of agencies, because they like, for example, let's say you run Facebook and Google ads, but you don't want to bring production in-house, but you've built a really good referral partnership with another creative agency. Like that's okay because like they're finding ways of supplementing without bringing someone inside. But what you have to do as a business owner is really understand if you like that other agency that they're working with as well, right? So you're almost vetting 2 agencies at that point. There are models. There's so many different models for like marketing agencies and how they like structure stuff. You just have to be aware of what the structure looks like. So one of the questions that I ask in my interview questions is, okay, tell me about your team and how it's built. And so people will say, well, we have 40 people in-house and blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, how much of that is in North America versus how much of that is outsourced? And all of a sudden you start noticing, oh, we have 5 in-house in the USA, but then we have 35.
2 people in America, 98 elsewhere. Yeah, I've seen
right?
it.
So like getting a little bit deeper into the questions, you get a little bit more of an understanding of how an organization is built. And then things like that, like if I hear like, 2 people in the USA and everyone else is outsourced, like, well, why is your pricing so high? Because clearly you're outsourcing because you want to do value-based service. Like the model has to match up, right? If someone was like, I'm a very high level agency, but I outsource 95% of the work, that's a red flag to me. But if they're like, hey, we're a value-based agency and we outsource 95% of the work, that's not as much of a red flag to me because the type of customer I would give to them is different. I would give them a smaller customer that's more worried about money and they might have a marketing level of like, let's say 1 out of 10, and they need to get to like a 3 or 4. And that type of agency is a perfect fit to kind of move you up the chain and then upgrade
Kind of
you.
build up a little.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I guess it would be a red flag if I told you that my agency is, going to take incredible care of your clients and do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, LMNOP, whatever, and then I literally do none of the work and I act like I'm doing it and go outsource it on like Fiverr or something terrible. You know what I mean? Like just it's okay if I get in trouble. I'm used to it. But and I will say also I've used some freelance websites where you can pay like, like the contractor websites and ChatGPT has made those sites like a minefield for you to get burned.
Yeah.
We used one for a trade show, like an engineering spec, and we almost didn't get to use our booth in a 6-figure sponsorship because they didn't do real math. It was fake engineering. Like they didn't do the work.
Wow.
Luckily, we were able to, drum up a solution. But like, I would be careful on those sites too, especially if there's like math and safety involved.
Yeah, the freelancer world right now, like the contractor, and I'll consider like
Like Wild West. It's
is
crazy.
very dangerous. Like
It
and
used
it's
to be
getting more serious.
incredible. I still have people that I hired on these sites from 15 years ago that I still work with,
Yeah,
but not anymore.
it's hard. It's definitely hard.
B, you seem like a guy who really likes loaded questions, so buckle up. But can you talk to us a little bit about like different growth marketing tactics? I'm sure there's a lot of different directions you can go. So I guess if we were to kind of focus that a bit, maybe just some of your favorite that you see yielding the best results for your clients and those who are, obviously trying to grow at a quick pace.
Yeah, this is such a hard question to answer because everyone's looking for that silver bullet. They're like, I want that silver bullet to allow my business to grow at an exponential rate. And a lot of times that those types of growth marketing tactics come from within companies. They don't come in from like external sources. But for example, like let's say you want to grow on social media. There are agencies where you'll pay 8 to 12 grand a month in retainers, but they're posting like 3 to 5 reels a day to the point where they're like constantly testing till they get to the point where something goes viral, right? The way that social media strategy works is like if a post does go viral, then the baseline of how many views you get on your next videos moves up. And you just like rinse and repeat that process. But it obviously costs a lot of money and a lot of time because you have to create the content. And there's people that also will do that kind of stuff and they'll do it across multiple Instagram accounts and start like 3 to 20 new ones, run all that stuff, see which account actually hits more, cut off all the other ones, and then run with the 1 or 2 that's like really strong. Like there's all these things that you hear of in the background. But most businesses aren't prepared to spend that kind of money, to test that kind of money, to do those types of growth tactics, if that makes sense. Other aspects like cold email. Cold email is very difficult to do, but if you can hit it and you can hit it right, like you get the right messaging, you get the right audience, you do that stuff. I've seen businesses scale to 7, 8 figures just from that one channel. But you also have to be careful because it always changes, right? Like getting inbox always changes. And so you can never rely on one channel. So the way that I actually go through my marketing strategy, and it kind of talks to what Harrison was talking about before, where it makes it really hard for small businesses to grow because they have to do everything. I run like 9 marketing channels and I run them at like, let's say a 3 out of 10 on those marketing channels. And the way my engineering brain works is if I'm across 9 different places, right? And let's say someone is running one marketing channel and was able to scale it, they're going to hit a cap, right? At some point. For me though, I kind of think of the flywheel effect where I'm like, if I run 9 different marketing channels and I'm in front of you on LinkedIn and on Facebook and Instagram, and then you're in my email newsletter, and then I'm on podcasts and you hear me there, and then you see my logo in other places, like that combined effect is building my brand and how like people know who I am and what I do. And at some point, even if I'm running them at a 3 out of 10 level, the combination of all those is going to be so much more effective long term than it will be with the short term marketing tactics for growth. But you can test both, right? Like I'm obviously testing stuff, I'm trying things all the time, but that's kind of how I think about this question.
I can't remember if I saw it on your website or your LinkedIn, but I know a common thread within how you approach this industry is like having the right business mindset. I'm not sure if that's more about how you approach the business mindset or about how your clients should, or if it's both, but I'd love to hear like your take on what that actually means to you.
Yeah, so the business mindset's interesting. So my mindset is a little bit different than most people's in business. I'm more of the obviously like lifestyle type entrepreneur. I just want to do good work. People are like, Behdad, why don't you continue to scale your business? Like this is a very scalable business. I'm like, cool, but like I make more than enough money that I need now. I'm happy at what I do. I have time to like hang out with my family and my friends and things like that. So like I know what I'm building towards is a business where I can pull myself out for a month. The business continues running. My customers are happy, but I don't need to make an insane amount of money. I just want to do really good work and do what I do really well, right? That's just kind of my mindset. But if a business comes to me with a different types of mindset and they're like, hey, we're trying to scale, like we want to get to 100 million, like that's the goal that we have. Or if someone wants to get to, $10 million, that's a different mindset. And that requires different risk and different strategies and all that different kind of stuff. But for me, when it comes to business owners, it's like figure out what you truly want in life and then build the business around that versus the other way around. Because I'm a part of a lot of different groups and I've seen a lot of business owners build 8-figure businesses, sell, and then become depressed because they realized what they wanted wasn't that, right? And they wasted 20 years building and now they're trying to figure out what they really want in life. And so that's kind of what I talk about the business mindset is like when I work with people, I want people that have done some like self-reflection on like what they want and do they really want it versus just like being reactionary and be like, I think this will make me happy without actually knowing if it will.
So follow-up question from the people you've spoken to and, dived into that aspect of their lives, what's a couple, like, what do they want? What's a couple of common threads you hear from these higher ups? I'm sure you get a lot from across the entire board, but what do you frequently hear being said over and over again?
Yeah, one of the coolest types of entrepreneurs or CEOs to run into is people who just like solving hard problems. Like that's just what they like to do. And so them being in business is just the process.
Well, I'd say Harrison and our co-host Adam fall into that category pretty easily.
Right? Like they thrive for it. Like it's where they get creative, where they enjoy it. It can be hard and they're still enjoying it. And so there's those types of people. There's people that are building just to exit and get out, and they're like, I just need a certain amount of money, and I'm good and I'm done. I think those ones end up figuring out like, okay, what do I truly want afterwards? And then they have to like re-question that and then figure out what their next thing is. And then you'll find the entrepreneurs that just like they're driven by this like mission, like they have an internal mission to change things, right? Like they want to change the pharmaceutical industry, for example, and that's their entire thing. And they go down that path, similar to like the first archetype, but a little bit different because there's like more purpose driven than trying to solve a really hard problem, if that makes sense. And then you have your lifestyle entrepreneurs where they're like, I just want to run a business that allows me to live the lifestyle that I want to live. And I just want to continue doing that for as long as I can do it. And that's just another archetype.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on like how to break through a wall. I think there's a few different walls we could touch on here, like a creative wall, a financial wall, a growth wall, maybe those three in particular, unless you have something else on your mind. But what's the best way to kind of get on the other side of that when you run into a little bit of a roadblock?
Yeah, this is something that I always am personally working on too. And so like I think no matter what kind of wall you're trying to hit, I think you actually have to dig internally to figure out why that wall is there in the first place, right? Like people will hit revenue caps or will hit certain things, but if you don't understand the kind of like internal things inside of you that are restricting you from to getting to the level that you want to get to, I think you're always going to hit a wall at some point. And so part of it is one, you believe that you can actually be on the other side of that wall. Can you really build that type of business that you're trying to build? And if so, cool. Like you believe it, you kind of manifest it, imagine it, and just go for it. But a lot of people just don't have that. They actually are like restricting themselves in different ways to get to what they want to get to, right? So I think one of it's internal. In terms of like in the business, like if we don't want to go internally, in terms of the business, like there's 5 key areas of business that you need to be able to run. Like you got strategy, you got operations, you got marketing, you got sales, you got HR, right? Like these are the 5 areas of business. And at some point you're going to hit walls across one or all of these. And so when you're hitting a growth wall, you got to start realizing, what is it? Is it the people that I have in the organization? Like, have I outgrown the people? Like, can they help me get to that next level? If the answer is no, then you got to start going back. Do you have operations and systems in place that are not allowing you to scale, right? Like all of this stuff touches on EOS, which some people might know or might not know.
A lot of previous guests on the show have implemented EOS in their business and are huge fans, and we've talked about it in multiple episodes. It's very cool.
That's exactly it, right? So, and EOS plays on, like, I did a mini MBA, and that's like those 5 key tactics come from that. And so when you look at EOS and how they interlap, it basically just it gets that those areas operationalized, right? So that you as a I think as most founders, like, they need to, as you're building a business, once you start getting to that $3 to $10 million range, where you have to like amplify yourself is removing yourself from the business, getting leadership into place, and then getting layers of people working for you so that you can focus strategically on the business and what you're really good at, and then let the leadership kind of run. And so these are some of the ways that like you kind of get past that wall. One is to go internal, and then the other is just like look at how the business is organized and structured across these 5 areas and find where you're capping at, and then start working on solutions to solving those problems. And if you don't know how to, get a part of different business groups, because other businesses have already gone through this and you'll learn from them faster, or just business coaches and mentors.
Harrison, I know when you hit a wall, you just pound a Ghost energy drink, right?
Dude, I'm proud to say that I have cut back on caffeine a little bit. So I'm only doing like 8 coffees a day currently.
Oh my
Um,
God, dude.
but
It's intense.
I've been shying away from energy drink. But no, when I hit a wall in a marketing perspective, I really just try to look at it and kind of, this might sound really dumb, but like find a way around it. Like, where am I stuck? What's the problem?
Yeah.
Also, if there's sales involved, and I want to stress myself out, just add people in sales roles. You're going to fix your growth thing, or you're going to like really stress out when you're paying them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can light a match on yourself if you like, which I kind of
Yeah.
like to do. I'm really bad. I'll like wait till the last minute just to like be anxious to do something. So if I bring someone on and I'm paying them to do sales and there's nothing for them to sell, or there's no clients or leads for them to sell, I'm going to like, you know, run like a chicken with no head to figure out how to get them some leads or prospects or whatever it may be. That's just me. But
That's fair. So if you're trying to get past the marketing wall, it depends. Like, if you're running a certain marketing channel, it's not working, start hiring the consultants and experts. Like, hire 5 of them. Like, hire one, get information from them, hire another, like, get the information to figure out how do you actually scale this thing. A lot of marketing is like you keep doing stuff until at one point you hit a flywheel, something starts working, and then you expand, right? Like, it's the same thing for any ad that you run, right? You run 20 ads, one of them makes you all the money. So that's kind of how you have to think about it. Like, if you look at like the Russell Brunsons of the world, these guys are running like 3 to 5 funnels a week, right? Like, just for offers. And they're just constantly testing. And because they have the money and the capacity to do it, but like, why did they do that? Because they know one of them will hit that makes money back for all of the other ones that they did. And so when you hit a marketing wall, like, just go find the expert help that you can possibly get to kind of like fast track your learning. And then two, you just need to be testing an insane amount across multiple different things. That's like the only way through the marketing wall. There's no like silver bullet. Like, you can be super creative, and I think those people get very, very lucky. But it's just, yeah, you just have to keep trying, keep going at it until you figure it out.
B, how many cups of coffee a day is too many?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I don't drink any caffeine.
Wow. So
So
tell
I'm
me
on the
about
opposite side of
that.
Harrison.
back, dude.
When did you cut caffeine out and why?
I never really was on the caffeine train. Funny enough, the only time I drink caffeine is when I'm on vacation. Like, if I'm like going for like a walk and stuff. Like, when I'm not stressed, I'm just chilling. Like, caffeine for me, like, I already have high energy, and so caffeine just kind of like amplifies that a little bit too much for me. And so like it brings up the anxiety levels and all that different kind of stuff. And the way that I see caffeine for me is that I'm borrowing future energy for now, and at some point I'm gonna have to pay it back. And so that's kind
Bro, I'm
of,
overdrawn. I'm overdrawn.
yeah, yeah. At some point you burn out, man.
I
So
sleep
I
like
don't know.
18 hours in the weekends, but you're not wrong. I will say it's true. I'll say this, coffee's bad, but like the thing that's really toxic, and I can say I don't take this, I've been prescribed them, but like the ADD medicines, like those truly overdraw you because
Interesting.
they just take everything you have and then you're like a beast. And then when you stop taking that medicine, it's a long fall. So, I'm not a
I kind
fan
of
of those. I
understand it
was
because
I stopped that years ago.
I kind of understand it because when I do drink coffee, like, let's say I have a coffee, I feel like limitless for like 3 hours.
Wired, right?
I'm like,
Yeah.
I can do anything, and then I get
This
depressed.
doesn't work anymore, man. I've literally drank. Look, there's nothing in here. I literally just went for a sip and it was empty. So, yeah.
So, B, I only got one or two more questions for you. I think this was a prompt I saw on your LinkedIn page as well, but cutting through the bullshit and kind of getting directly to what it is you're looking for. You seem like a straight to the point guy, which I really respect and like. So, what are your tactics on cutting through the bullshit when you're either considering taking on a new partner, or working with someone else in this industry, or just bringing somebody into your life, even on a personal level? Like, how do you kind of get straight to the point?
It's a really good question. No one's actually asked that question before, but for me, I don't know, man. I just have a sense of people at this point. I've talked to so many in my life. Even before I was doing this, I was always just someone that was well connected and just knew a lot of people. So if someone gives me the wrong feeling, like I have a little scorecard whenever I meet someone, I have like and I got this from another super connector actually. It's a -2, -1, 0, 1, and then 2. It's like a scorecard basically. And so as I talk to someone, if someone's like a -2, it's someone that I'm likely not going to even respond to in emails. I always respond to emails, but I'm just very polite about it and just make sure there's no more emails after that. A -1 is just someone that you're not going to put a ton of energy into and you're not going to jump on a call with, but you'll like answer the emails, you'll answer their text, that kind of stuff. 0, I'll get back to in a second. 1 is someone that you like has good energy. You want to invest time into them. Like someone that you like and it just feels good. 2 is the type of person like you'll do anything for this person. Like you're there to serve them because they just align with you so well and etc. If someone ends up being a 0, you have to decide if they're a -1 or a 1, because otherwise they're just going to waste your time because you're in this middle ground of you not knowing where to place them. And so that's one of the ways that I do it. And so just it's ranking of the relationship and the feeling that I have in the beginning and then kind of going with that.
I say some borderline weird shit and I see how they react. If they get like really weirded out and defensive, I'm usually like, I don't think this is gonna work.
You're out.
But if they lean
Like
into it,
curveball strategy. I like.
yeah, I throw curveballs all the time, and if they can at least make contact with it, I mean, I'm willing to see where it goes. We brought up ChatGPT earlier and how it almost killed thousands of trade show goers or something like that by a booth miscalculation. But in terms of, marketing and connecting people with your clients, like, do you incorporate AI or ChatGPT into your business practices at all? And if you do, what do those, real world examples kind of look like that someone watching this might be able to apply to their own life?
Yeah, I use it for a couple different things. So one, it's honestly an assistant for my like strategic thinking. And so I think a lot of people use like I'll use an example. For example, when it comes to like financial planning, I don't go into ChatGPT and write like, "You're a financial planner. Please tell me how I should map this out so that my business has X amount of money in this many years, or my personal income, or that kind of stuff." Right. The way that I prompt like ChatGPT is I'm like I have all my data and stuff, so I feed it the context is one of the most important aspects. So I feed it all my data in terms of like where I'm at financially in the business, personally, all that different kind of stuff. Then I say, please grab me the 10 best financial planners in the world. Who are they? Cool. Can you grab all of their principles and combine them into one and then guide that be the guide for how you give me your recommendation moving forward in this chat. And man, the results that you kind of get from it is pretty insane. I've been like wrestling, for example, recently with like, do I do a 30-year mortgage or a 25-year mortgage for my place? And I just literally threw it to ChatGPT after a month of thinking of it. And ChatGPT's like, yeah, you always want to have more liquidity based on like where you're at with your money and stuff. Like the 30 years is a no-brainer. Take that money, reinvest at 5%. You're already making an extra 140 grand. I was like, all right, cool. Like that solved me. I could have solved a whole bunch of thinking problems before that. The other thing that I do is like for my social content, I don't use it to write my social content. I'm going to use that right now and there. I write social content and then I use very similar prompts of like, hey, these are some of the best storytelling books. Tell me where the other ones are. Take the ideas from that. Now I want you to use that every time I give you a social media post that I've written. I want you to tell me how to improve it. And it breaks it down. And I'm like, cool, I'm adding that. So I almost use it as a coach for copywriting. Whereas I wanted to actually hire a copywriting coach, and I'm like, this actually is getting me to the level that I want to get to without needing that copywriting coach. So those are just some examples. There's many others, but that's how I use it for now.
I love the dudes on Instagram that are like, this is day 5 of turning $1,000 into $1 million by doing whatever ChatGPT tells me. And it really, nothing ever actually is said. It's just like a hook strategy to get people to watch. But
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm just starting to kind of pick up on those kind of capabilities, and I think it's awesome when you just revisit a chat and it's just like, hey, I still have everything you said from before. It just saves like everybody a ton of time.
It's crazy, man. Like you can use it for a lot of stuff, like business mentoring, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that have like one thing that I want to build, and this is just kind of fun for people, is like I want to, now that it has so much context, because I write social posts in there, I have all this stuff in there, right? And I actually have like a whole bunch of journal entries that I have online digitally that I can also throw into it. And then say, okay, now create like a Behdad GPT, right? And then now I want you to amplify that Behdad GPT by 50 years. Like all the stuff that I know now, I want you to amplify that by 80 years. Add in, Kobe Bryant's grit, add in like whatever else, like the people that I mentor, and say, now you are my business advisor for anything that I'm kind of going through business. And then I'm using that as like a place to kind of think strategically and get it to ask me questions and things like that.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate you joining the Affiliate Marketing Show. For myself, Josh from OfferVault, the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, Mr. Papercall Adam Young, who had so much to share with us today, as well as our special guest Behdad Jamshidi, founder of CJAM Marketing. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.